Hello everyone and welcome back to Tennis Time. What a fantastic French Open we've had this year, and especially the last 3 days, the semi-final days and the finals. We've had some fantastic matches. First off, we had Zverev against Tsitsipas, where Tsitsipas has won in 5 sets. Really thrilling match. Tsitsipas 2 sets to love up at the beginning, and loses the next 2 and then comes through and wins the 5th set. We've had the Nadal Djokovic, the highly anticipated semi-final of the men's. That was probably one of the best matches of the year, if not one of the best Grand Slam semi-finals we've seen for some time. And then what a final we've had, Tsitsipas playing Djokovic. Okay, so I'm going to talk about these events, the semis, mostly the Djokovic-Nadal match plus the final. And I'm also going to address Djokovic's achievement overall, what it means from a historical context, from a historical point of view. I'm going to talk about the potential Golden Slam for Djokovic. And I want to address 2 other things that have been talked a lot about during this French Open. That was Federer withdrawing after winning the 3rd round and Naomi Osaka going home after her 1st round match. I'm going to give you my thoughts on that. So first, let's start with that fabulous semi-final we've had with Nadal and Djokovic. So at the beginning, when I did the preview on that one, obviously Djokovic has a lead on the head-to-head. He was just 1 match ahead, but nonetheless, if we've taken a look at many stats, what it means if these 2 play on clay, we've seen that for quite some time Djokovic has not had a victory or a significant victory against Nadal on clay. On the other hand, we all know that Nadal didn't have a significant victory against Djokovic on grass or on a hard court for a very long time. And obviously, what happened in this match was a testament to the fact that these 2, when they go toe-to-toe and when they go at it, anything can happen. And this was a very good example to that. Somebody even replied in a comment on my previous video. Somebody else also, if you look at the screen, says that looks like I'm heartbroken that Rafa lost. I don't know, maybe this video is a little bit overdue. I didn't really have time to do videos lately. Unfortunately, I have other things to do in my life, fortunately or unfortunately, no matter how you want to put it. If I'm giving the impression to viewers I'm not getting too many comments and that I am, they get the impression that I'm heartbroken because one player or the other lost. I'm doing definitely something wrong, because my intention was not to say I'm a fan of this guy or I'm a fan of the other guy. I was simply trying to point out and using those statistics to show how dominant of a player Nadal is on clay. And of course, 99%, that's my claim. I think 99% who think straight and understand tennis would have said that Nadal has an overwhelming chance to win that semi-final and win the French Open for the 14th time. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that somebody who's won the French Open 13 times does have a very good chance to win it for the 14th time. Okay, enough about that. So basically, if we look back at that semi-final between Nadal and Djokovic, I think from the beginnings perspective, how the match started, it was a little bit similar to how the last year's final started. Different conditions in the first hour compared to last year's final, which was played in October. Nonetheless, Nadal was 5-love up after a short time, and Djokovic was playing the same tactics as he did, I think, in that last year's final, using the drop shots, trying to outmaneuver Nadal in the same way and trying to finish off points, but Nadal was just too quick, anticipated everything, and he won the majority of the games. And something happened or shifted after the fifth game. In the sixth game, Djokovic won his first game. Then Nadal was serving for it, and that was a tight game. And Nadal did have set points to win it 6-1, but he didn't. He couldn't finish that set off at that time. I think that game changed a little bit the complexion of the match, because afterwards Djokovic held, it was 5-3, and Nadal won the set, but the whole momentum and the whole complexion of the match changed. So Djokovic felt like, okay, I got steamrolled in the first 5 games, but now I'm in there. I know I can win more games. And he played, from a tactical point of view, a fantastic match, Djokovic did. So he was moving Nadal around in a sense which Nadal is not really accustomed to. And you didn't have the impression that Nadal was dominating the majority of the points. He was more on the defensive. And he got broken. First, in the second set, he's broken back. Then he's got broken again, but then he couldn't break back anymore. And that pretty much has cost him the second set. The third set's way of going, how it went, is very similar to the second, with the single exception that when Djokovic is serving to close out the set and go 2 sets to 1 up, Nadal has broken back, even though Djokovic is 30 love up, and Nadal even managed to sneak out a set point at 5-6 when Djokovic was serving to get us in a tiebreak. And he had a set point, and he was so close to go 2 sets to 1 up. I still think, given the fact how physical that match was, he probably would have lost that match, given the fact how Djokovic was feeling on the court and how well he was playing and how well he was still moving. And you could see even after the press conference, or at the, not the press conference, the court interview, the on-court interview, when he was talking to the media and the crowd, he was fresh. I mean, compared to Rafa, he looked fresh. And after Rafa lost that third set, the fighting spirit, of course, was there. He won the first 2 games of the fourth set, but after that, he couldn't win a game anymore. So that's somehow simply fantastic and amazing, that the way Djokovic could play. He was fit, he was sharp, he was executing really well, and he didn't give up. From a mental perspective, he was so strong. I mean, look at the way how he lost last year's final. 6-love, 6-2, 7-5. And 2 weeks before that, he lost the final to Rafa in Rome. It was a closer match, but still, it was a loss. So he knew how to go into that match thinking that, okay, I'm 1 love down, I'm 2 love down, I'm 3 love down, I'm 4 love down, I'm 5 love down in the first set. He still could believe that he can win this match, and he still can build momentum up for himself, and he did. So given the fact that Nadal is a 13-time French Open champion, he was going for his 14th title, and Djokovic has won the French Open only once, if you can say only once, but compared to all his records, other records and other slams, just the one victory is not it's not that high of a number. But given the fact that he's beaten Nadal and then he's won the final against Tsitsipas, is even more impressive, because it not just that he has beaten Nadal in the French Open like he did in 2015, he was beating today at the French Open this year a better version of Rafa Nadal than the one he's beaten in 2015. And in 2015 he was playing him in the quarters, got to the final, but lost to Stan Wawrinka in amazing match in 4 sets. But today he's beaten Rafa in the semis. It was a grueling match. It was a match over 4 hours. He comes back and he beats Tsitsipas. So I think this is a good segue to go to the final. So I think he went into that final as the favorite. I mean, he's a guy who's played 28 Grand Slam finals. Prior to this one, it was Tsitsipas's first Grand Slam final. Obviously, the age difference seems to tilt in Tsitsipas's favor. Tsitsipas was playing the first match, Djokovic the second one. The second one, even though it was just 4 sets against Nadal, but it was a longer, from a physical perspective, it was a more grueling match. So you would have thought, okay, Tsitsipas, if he goes up a set to love or 2 sets to love, then it probably would be too difficult for Djokovic to come back and win. But incredibly enough, this is what happened. So not just has he managed to win that titanic battle against Nadal, he loses the first set to Tsitsipas. And I think the fact that he lost that first set, he got a little bit deflated. And with that, he pretty much lost the second set pretty quickly. The first was tight because it could have gone either way. At the beginning, it seemed more like it's going to be going Djokovic's way. Djokovic was serving incredibly well. As Hardy lost a few points on his serve, Tsitsipas had to fight really hard for his service games, but then somehow managed to get in a tiebreak. So he was actually 5-6 down, and Djokovic was serving to take the first set 7-5. But that was the moment when something went wrong for Djokovic. He's lost his service game, he lost the tiebreak. Interestingly enough, he wasn't winning too many tiebreaks in this French Open. The only one he's won was probably the most important one for him against Nadal. So this again shows his mental strength, how well he can focus in a moment where he knows this is absolutely imperative for him to do well and to win. But having said that, losing the first set to Tsitsipas in a close tiebreaker, in a close set, and then the same thing happening in the second set, losing it 6-2. He goes off to the changing area or dressing area, toilet, whatever, and he comes back and he seems more refreshed. And from that point on, I never really had the impression that Tsitsipas was up in any moment or he was close to win another set. He lost the third set 6-3. The fourth set was the worst from Tsitsipas's perspective. He was 4-love down. After that he held twice but lost that set 6-2. The fifth set was close. So there sometimes I had the impression that Tsitsipas could hold serve, not be broken, but after he's gotten broken, he never really looked like a guy who for sure would break back. And with that, he's lost the match. So again, reiterating how amazing this victory of Djokovic's is or was. Because first, in the fourth round, he was 2 sets to love down. He lost 2 tiebreaks against Musetti. After that, he's lost 1 more game in the entire match. So beating Musetti 6-7, 6-7, 6-1, 6-love, and at 4-love in the fifth, Musetti retired because he wasn't winning any more games. Then he plays Berrettini. He had a tight third set, which he should have won. He lost after being 2 sets to love down. He wins a very tight fourth set. He's really pumped. I talked about that moment because I really didn't like the way he behaved after that moment when he won against Berrettini. But you could see this incredible determination he must have had if he reacted like that. And after that moment happened and he was letting out that horrible scream, which I didn't like, he didn't behave in any similar fashion anymore. He was, of course, pumped against Nadal and, of course, pumped against Tsitsipas, but he didn't act like it anymore. He came off as he really knew what he needs to do. He needs to keep his focus, his energy, and he needs to use that on court playing his shots, and that was definitely something he's done incredibly well. So if we take all this into consideration, how badly injured he was at the Australian Open, and it seemed like he would need to pull out against Fritz after the third round match, which was also sort of a miracle that he's won, but he's won it. And then he continued and he went on to win the tournament. Now he wins his second French Open in the manner I've just described. That brings us to a similar situation he was in in 2016 when he won the Australian Open and then he won the French Open. So everybody was talking about the fact that, okay, could this be the moment for him where he gets a calendar Grand Slam? Because nobody's ever done that since Rod Laver in 1969, and that's a long, long time ago. And we're now in a similar situation. He wins the Australian, he wins the French, both in dramatic fashion, but he looks sharp as ever. And given the fact how mentally strong he is, so this mental fortitude, if he keeps up with this motivation he seems to be having, he's definitely the favourite for Wimbledon. I mean, if we take a look at Federer, from a physical perspective, he's just not in a physical shape where he can probably compete for 2 weeks at a slam. And he's out of match practice. So no matter how big of a genius Roger Federer is on a tennis court, he's on a comeback trail, and that's going to take time. Nadal is out of Wimbledon, and anyway, Nadal is not somebody who I would put above Djokovic as a favourite at Wimbledon. And we have the new guns who've never proven themselves on grass against the big three or against the big four, including Murray. So I really don't see anybody having a solid chance to beat Djokovic at Wimbledon. And if his motivation is up, he definitely is the favourite for Wimbledon. And if he wins at Wimbledon, then he surely will want to win the US Open as well. Plus, this year we have the Olympics as well, and he's never won an Olympic gold. Considering that the Wimbledon, the Olympics and the US Open are relatively closely together, bundled together, it may be a little bit too much for Djokovic to compete throughout. What happens if he wins Wimbledon? Is he definitely going to play the Olympics, or is he going to opt out? That really remains to be seen, because if he has 3 slams this year, if he wins Wimbledon this year, he's in strong level with Rafa and Roger. So what is he going to do? He definitely will want to get to 21 this year at the US Open, so I'm pretty sure of it. But all of this remains to be seen. Nobody has won the Golden Slam in men's tennis. Only Steffi Graf has done it on the women's side, where she's won in 1988. All 4 slams, Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon and the US Open, plus she's won the gold medal at the Olympics in Seoul in South Korea. So if Djokovic does this, I think this is going to be, given the fact how many great achievements he has in tennis, this is definitely going to be by far his biggest achievement. And it's going to take probably another 40-50 years for somebody else to do this. So I think from a motivational perspective, I would be surprised if he would go down and his motivation would get deflated, just like it did in 2016. I think he will want to win these titles, and for him there is an extra motivation, I think, because overall in the media everybody knows that Djokovic is not that kind of a beloved player as Nadal and Federer are. And for him, I don't know, this might be just speculation, but I think he wants to show everybody and to the world that no matter how loved somebody else might be, he can be the same guy. He can be even better than a Roger or a Rafa or whoever. And I think he firmly believes that. And if he wouldn't believe that, then he wouldn't have won the Aussie Open this year, and then he wouldn't have won the French Open this year. So this is absolutely mind-boggling and fantastic what he's achieved so far. Okay, so having said all of this, I think Wimbledon is definitely going to be very interesting to watch for various reasons. I did say that Djokovic. No, I didn't say that. But this is one more thing to be added. So we have in the history of tennis only two players who've managed to win at least one of the who has managed to win all four slams at least twice, meaning winning the Aussie Open, French Open, Wimbledon, and US Open at least twice, at least. And two players have done this ahead of Djokovic. One was Roy Emerson, and the other one was Rod Laver. So Rod Laver has done it in 1969. Roy Emerson has completed his second round in 1967. When Roy Emerson's done it, he was still an amateur, and a lot of big names, including Laver, including Hode or Ken Rosewall, were already playing at the pros. The most impressive record is, of course, for Laver doing it in 1969, winning the Calendar Grand Slam and beating everybody since. In 1968, everything went open, and the former pros had the chance and the opportunity to compete at all four slams. So I think that achievement is pretty much equaled or going to be equaled by Djokovic if he wins all four majors in the same calendar year. Given the fact that he's won all four majors at least twice, this is something Rafa Nadal has not achieved and Roger Federer has not achieved. So this is definitely something that I think in years to come people are going to point to. Nadal had many chances to win one more Australian Open, because he has from all the others at least 2 victories or other slams, but he's not done it. Nadal's been in the 2009 Australian Open final where he's beaten Federer, but after that he lost the 2012 final to Djokovic, the 2014 to Wawrinka, and the 2017 to Federer, and the 2019 to Djokovic. So this is also one of the reasons why Djokovic's feat to win the second French Open title is also very impressive. Okay, so now maybe 2 closing thoughts about Federer's retirement at the French Open. People saying this was a disrespectful thing to do, and he's won the 3rd match and he should have played on. Well, I understood that after that match he had a rest for 4 days. He has not hit a ball for 4 days. He was resting. So, and on the 5th day he had a light practice, so it was not something super grueling or difficult. He had a light practice. So I don't really understand this whole thing that he shouldn't have not gone to the French Open if he wasn't ready. For God's sake, the guy is 39. He hasn't played much in the last, how many? 18 months. He had similar situations before in 2016 when after Wimbledon he retired. For the rest of the season he didn't play, and he came back in Australia in 2017, but he was then still 35, which is not particularly young in tennis, but it's a lot younger. It's 4 years younger than now being at 39. And the break was a lot longer, and the issue seems to have been a little bit more severe with the knee. I don't really understand why people criticize him on this point. He came back, he won 3 matches, people were really enjoying his matches. It was great to see him play, and it's still a lot better than if he would not have played, and we would not have had the opportunities to see those 3 matches. Now he went on to Halle, won a match, lost the 2nd match against FAA. He doesn't seem ready to be a contender at Wimbledon. We will see what happens. But I don't understand this whole criticism thing with Federer. Doesn't make any sense to me. And regarding Naomi Osaka, so I think that's definitely an unfortunate situation. Initially, when she announced on social media that she would not participate in press conferences, that was weird. If you don't understand the reason behind it, if she's not feeling well, if she feels down or depressed, she doesn't want to handle the media and maybe stupid questions will come her way, or questions will come her way where she's asked whether she thinks she can ever win on clay or whether she can ever win on grass because she's not done it. I understand that you don't want to put yourself through all these questions, which maybe make you doubt yourself. But on the other hand, everybody gets these questions. Big stars get these questions. Pete Sampras got that question many, many times on clay. I don't think it helped his confidence. He never won the French Open, but so are many other great seven volley players like Stefan Edberg, Boris Becker, John McEnroe. These guys never won the French Open. There's no shame to that. I mean, their games are built differently, especially during those times. Grass was a lot faster, hard courts are playing faster, clay was even slower than it is today. So there's no shame to that. Later, when she said that she's gonna go home after she's won her first match, didn't go to press conference, and the French Open was saying, okay, if she keeps this up, then she may get disqualified. And when she heard that, she decided that she would go home. And then she announced that she was sort of depressed and she needs a break from tennis. And then people coming on and saying later on that, okay, she should have said from the beginning that she was depressed and that's why she doesn't want to hold press conferences. I think she could have done that, yeah, for sure. People in her team or on her team could have helped her take that decision or take that route. But in retrospect, everything is simpler. Everything is a lot more easy. And when somebody is down or is depressed, that doesn't necessarily mean that life can't stop for everybody. You may be depressed, but you may not have a financially good situation overall, and you still need to pick yourself up and go on and do things to sustain your family or to sustain yourself and get something to eat, whatever. So the point I'm trying to make is, even if she wasn't feeling particularly well, it's okay, and it was admirable that she still tried to go on with her career and play a very important tournament because she knows that the French Open is an important tournament. It's a Grand Slam, and of course she would want to play there, and the same with Wimbledon. But people were also saying that the French Open was handling this badly because this is not something that is going to cause a snowball effect. So if Naomi Osaka is the only one who wants to retire or doesn't want to go and do press conferences, that doesn't mean that everybody else is going to do the same thing. This is an argument I'm not completely in agreement with. So that could happen. There are particular rules you need to apply and you need to obey. Tennis players go to press after a match, whether they lost or not, especially on bigger tournaments. It's part of the obligation. This is what you do. The thing that you make an exception sometimes can be dangerous. Given the fact that the Grand Slams, the French Open, did not know exactly what Naomi Osaka's motivation was, it was okay to say that, okay, if you continue to ignore coming to press conferences, you may be fined and disqualified. People were also saying that the French Open was too harsh and they didn't know what was going on with Osaka. This is also false. I've read in an article that the French Open has reached out to the other three Grand Slams, and all four Grand Slams jointly wanted to make contact with Osaka and clarify the situation and understand what was going on. There was no response. So I don't think anybody really handled the situation badly. This is something that happened, and things they do happen for a reason. I mean, in a sense that I don't mean in a prophetic sense that they happen for a reason. I mean, when Osaka decided she doesn't want to do press conferences at the French Open, she knew that something was up. And she thought, okay, this may be a solution. Maybe she didn't think this would blow out of proportions. Maybe it was foolish of her to think that. But maybe that's what she thought. If you're really down and you feel depressed, the decisions you make many times are not the soundest ones. And this is something we need to accept or understand. And nowadays, especially in these social media times, I think people are affected in a, okay, this is just a pundit opinion or a pundit observation, so I'm not a psychologist or anything, but people have different influences than they used to. I remember when Boris Becker was explaining, and he was really successful and still a tennis player, what a shock basically winning Wimbledon was for him. He wasn't prepared for everything that was supposed to come after that. If you become a Grand Slam champion, especially at 17, and then you do it the same thing again at 18, that changes your life. And back then, we didn't have social media. You didn't have people following you on Instagram or Twitter, whatever, wherever, where not dozens, but millions of people can follow whatever you do if you choose to. And I suppose it's a little bit different from a scale perspective if you have friends and you have, I don't know, a few hundred people who follow you or whatever. The whole world's attention is not focused on you. So whatever you do, it gets followed, it gets tracked, it gets commented. I don't think that anybody can handle that quite easily or in a nonchalant way. That affects you. And Osaka is a prominent personality, and she's earned that. So she can decide how she wants to use that power. I think she decided to use that quite responsibly last year when she was trying to implicate herself in various movements and show support for people where she thought or she considered that they would need or would benefit from her support. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this is not an easy situation. This is not a simple topic. And ultimately, if she has decided that she needs a break, and she can afford to take that break because it's important for her health, mental health, or whatever kind of health, then that's a good decision. I wish her only the best, and I hope she can return to fascinate us with her tennis and maybe help other players overcome similar situations in the future. If this is something that needs to be discussed and addressed, then it's good that it has come out, and it needs a solution on the long run. Okay, that's the video for today. Thanks for watching if you made it to the end. Wimbledon is coming up in a week's time, so enjoy Wimbledon and see you next time.